Let me ask y'all something. How do you agree to buy the Los Angeles Lakers for $10 billion and roughly a year later agree to sell them for $12.5 billion? Because this isn't just another Lakers ownership story. We're talking about a federal investigation into Mark Walters' broader business empire. More than $20 billion in related party investments disclosed by two of his insurance companies, a reported need for liquidity, and a Lakers deal that came together in just a few days. So the question isn't, did Mark Walter sell the Lakers? We know he did. The question is, why now? What it do, what it do, what it do. Welcome back to Lakers Sovereign. Much love to everybody tuning in. Today, we're going underneath that $12.5 billion headline because I'm not interested in giving you the same headline everybody else is giving you. We're following the money and we're separating what we know from what we're still trying to figure out. Let's get into it. Here's what we know. In June 2025, Mark Walter agreed to acquire controlling ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers at a $10 billion valuation. The NBA unanimously approved the purchase on October 30th, 2025, and Jeannie Buss remained the Lakers governor. Now fast forward, less than a year after that approval, Walter has agreed to sell the Lakers to a group led by Bob Iger and Josh Kushner at a reported $12.5 billion valuation. That's a record sports franchise valuation, and the transaction still requires NBA approval. ESPN has reported approximately $2.5 billion in gain between Walter's agreement to purchase and the new sale. That's an incredible return, but here's the part that made me stop. People don't normally buy the Lakers to flip them. So really, what has changed? Now I'm going to be very careful here. I'm not telling you Mark Walter committed fraud. He hasn't been charged with fraud based on the reporting we're discussing. Walter and TWG have denied wrongdoing, and they've said, expect these matters to be resolved favorably. But there is a federal investigation. The Wall Street Journal reports that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan and the SEC are investigating how billions of dollars in loans involving companies connected to Walter or TWG ended up on the books of his insurance companies. And then we get to the insurance filings. The Financial Times reports that two Walter-controlled insurers disclosed more than $20 billion in related party assets that had previously been classified differently. Those investments are connected to other parts of Walter's broader business empire. And the insurers are now working to restructure or sell substantial portions of those investments. Now, here's the important distinction. Related party investment does not automatically mean illegal activity. The issue being examined is how those investments were structured, disclosed, and handled. That's why I don't need to yell fraud. The actual financial situation is already serious enough to investigate. Now here's where Eric Jackson's analysis gets interesting. Jackson says he purchased the statutory filings for Delaware Life and Clear Spring, and he calculated the combined related party investments at approximately $25.1 billion. His analysis says Delaware Life's figure changed dramatically, from roughly $1.3 billion to approximately $18 billion after the restatement. But I'm putting an important disclaimer on that. Those exact figures are Jackson's analysis of the statutory filings. I'm not presenting $25.1 billion as a number independently by a regulator. However, the independently reported fact is that the two insurers disclosed more than $20 billion in related assets, and they're working through restructuring. And that's enough to make me pay attention, because now we're talking about a huge portion of the insurer's investments portfolios. Now let's look at the sequence. June 2025, Walter agrees to buy the Lakers. September 2025, federal agents reportedly seize Walter's devices. October 30th, 2025, the NBA approves his Lakers purchase. February 2026, grand jury subpoenas become part of the reporting surrounding the insurers. Then the insurers disclose major reclassifications involving related party investments. And now, August 2026, Walter agrees to sell the Lakers. Again, does that prove the investigation caused the sale? No. But now we have something stronger than speculation. The Wall Street Journal reports that Walter was seeking liquidity amid financial pressure tied to the investigation, and that selling the Lakers could help his broader restructuring effort. So the question isn't crazy anymore. The question is, how much did those financial pressures influence the decision to sell? And then there's another piece of the financial story. Before Walter bought the Lakers, Mubadala Capital, the investment arm of Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth system, announced a $10 billion investment into TWG Global as part of a $15 billion equity raise. That happened roughly 2 months before Walter agreed to acquire the Lakers. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying Abu Dhabi bought the Lakers. The public information doesn't establish that. What we know is that Mubadala invested heavily in Walter's broader company shortly before his Lakers acquisition. And Brian Windhorst has pointed to that investment when discussing the role of Middle Eastern capital in the Lakers transaction. So again, follow the money. Now let's talk about the buyers. Bob Iger and Josh Kushner weren't originally chasing the Lakers. They had been pursuing an NBA expansion opportunity in Las Vegas. Then Walter became willing to sell. Kushner approached Walter's side. Iger and Kushner pivoted. And according to the reporting, the agreement came together in approximately 3 days. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying $12.5 billion moved in 72 hours. I'm saying the deal was negotiated and agreed remarkably quickly. There's a huge difference, because a transaction like this requires lawyers, financing, due diligence, ownership structures, and NBA approval. So if the agreement came together in roughly 3 days, what groundwork had already happened? That's the question. But here's where I'm going to challenge my own theory. If Walter was simply desperate to unload the Lakers, why did Iger and Kushner agree to a $12.5 billion valuation? Walter's purchase was valued at $10 billion. Now the new deal values the franchise at $12.5 billion. That's a massive premium. So maybe this wasn't a fire sale. Maybe Iger and Kushner simply saw the Lakers as an extraordinary opportunity and were willing to pay whatever it took. And that's important, because I'm not going to tell you this was definitely a distressed sale. We don't know that. What we do know is that the financial pressure in the Lakers sale happened at the same time. And WSJ reporting says that pressure was a factor in Walter's motivation to sell. And then there's one more thing Lakers fans need to understand. $12.5 billion is a valuation. It does not mean Mark Walter gets a $12.5 billion check. There are other ownership percentages, financing, debt, taxes, transaction costs, and the deal still needs NBA approval. So don't hear $12.5 billion Lakers sale and automatically think Walter just pocketed $12.5 billion. That's not how this works. The important question is, how much liquidity does the transaction actually create for Walter's broader organization? And that's something we'll be watching. Now let's get back to basketball because that's what Lakers fans actually care about. Jeannie Buss is expected to remain governor under the existing arrangement. Rob Pelinka remains in place unless we hear otherwise. JJ Redick remains in place unless we hear otherwise. And Luka Doncic is the centerpiece of this next era. So I'm not worried about who gives the best introductory press conference. I'm watching, what do they do? Do they invest in basketball operations? Do they support the front office? Do they improve scouting? Do they expand analytics? Do they give Luka the resources to win? Because anybody could say, we're here to win. I don't need the speech. Rather, show me the check. And there's another name I'm watching, Chris Paul. There has been reporting that the recently retired point guard could potentially have a role with the Lakers, and Paul's long-standing relationship with Iger is part of why the speculation exists. But let's keep it factual. Chris Paul has not been announced as the Lakers executive, so I'm not calling that a done deal. I'm saying if Iger and Kushner reshape the basketball operation, CP3 is a name worth watching. And then there's Luka. Luka's response to ownership change was clear. Being a Laker means everything to me. And that's what matters. Because Luka doesn't need another ownership storyline. He needs stability, he needs a plan, and he needs an organization capable of building a championship roster around him. The new owners didn't just buy the Lakers. They inherited a responsibility of building the next era around Luka Doncic. So here's where I land. I'm not telling you Mark Walter committed fraud. I'm not telling you the investigation forced him to sell. I'm not telling you Abu Dhabi secretly owns the Lakers. And I'm not telling you Iger and Kushner have some hidden agenda. We don't know that. But we do know this. Walter bought controlling ownership at a $10 billion valuation. His broader financial empire is under federal scrutiny. His insurers disclosed more than $20 billion in related party assets that are now being restructured or divested. Wall Street Journal reports Walter needed liquidity amid that financial pressure. Then the Lakers became available. Iger and Kushner pivoted from Vegas. The agreement came together in roughly 3 days, and the franchise is now valued at $12.5 billion. So, why now? Maybe Iger and Kushner saw simply the greatest sports franchise in America and decided, you know what, we're buying that. Maybe Walter's financial circumstances accelerated a sale he never originally planned. Maybe both are true. Right now, we don't know. And that's why I'm not going to manufacture a conspiracy for clicks. I'm going to follow the money. I'm going to follow the timeline. And I'm going to watch what the new ownership group actually does. Because sometimes you don't need a conspiracy. The facts are already interesting enough. This is Lakers Sovereign. More than news, basketball insight. Stay locked in, stay focused, and as always, stay sovereign. Peace.